Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. My name is Jay Shalansky and my co-host is Evan Bulris.
Hey, how's it going?
Co-host.
Co-host.
Co. As in together.
Cooperative.
Cooperative hosting.
We split the job 50-20. And we use the 30 for whoever else wants to pick up my mess.
So let's see. Let's start with a little housekeeping. So if you are a Patreon supporter of ours, this week I'm going to be sending out Patreon rewards. So
Yep.
So we got a bunch of tokens. So basically on the Patreon now we have different. Because, you know, for those of you who are just joining us, we started off as a Legion podcast, and a big part of our audience is Legion. Mm-hmm. So our other sister podcast, Notorious Scoundrels, which is a specifically Legion podcast, they have a big following. And so we have a Legion kind of Patreon level, and then we have a regular gaming level. And so we did we're doing a bunch of
some
tokens.
super cool tokens.
Yeah, for both. And then also, we're coming up on just about 1 year. In July will be 1 year of the Patreon. So some of the people who joined us at the 25 level back in July when we first started, they're going to be getting a mat and a t-shirt.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. It is about a year since we started that, huh?
Yeah, so I started, so what it's going to be for those of you who are new, like, if you're with us for a year, no matter when your start date is, like a few of our Patreon sponsors right now, you're going to get an email from me that says, hey man, thank you so much, or woman, thank you so much for supporting us for a year. What mat would you like?
Yeah, that's sweet.
You know, and so, and then they don't get to pick the t-shirt just because that's a little bit different of a stock situation. Yeah. So I'm just going to send them a t-shirt. But yeah, so if you're not a Patreon supporter, basically the Patreon, I know we have a store, okay? But that store basically goes to like all the equipment that we can do, the tokens on, and the mats, and ordering mats and getting that and shipping and all that stuff, right? The Patreon is more to support the podcasts and the live streaming events and stuff that we do like that. So that money basically goes to the podcast to get equipment, or, you know, to help pay for things that we need to get for the podcast. So that's pretty cool. So that's just what the Patreon is for, is to help support all the podcast stuff, and then hopefully get you cool stuff every quarter, right? So if you're not a supporter of our Patreon, basically at the 10 and 25 level, you get something every quarter. So every 3 months we send you something cool and unique that only you'll get, and then at the $5 level, I believe it's every 6 months you get something. So, you know, we've done everything from t-shirts to tokens to order tokens to, I mean,
cards,
you know,
and
yeah, we try to get you something, posters. We try to get you something really, really cool together for you. So that, you know, so you support us, but you also get something unique and cool that no one else will have, which is super cool. And then also, as a reminder, the store is up, and so, you know, we have some of the games that we've been talking about, like Bolt Action, Blood Red Skies. We have Oak and Iron up there, all the expansions and the core set. So if you're interested, we also have pre-orders for our 3x3 mats. So we're doing X-Wing mats now and space mats, quote unquote. And we're doing water mats. So if you play Blood Red Skies, or if you play Cruel Seas, or if you play Oak and Iron, we have mats now for that, 3x3 water mats.
And, you know, we were kind of joking about it, or even I was more concerned when you put up water mats. I'm like, well, what else can we use besides Oak and Iron? And so I started thinking, I'm like, Cruel Seas, Victory at Sea, it's not Black Sails, that's the show. Warlord has a pirate ship competitor. Also X-Wing, or any plane game, or because the water actually looks okay. So I put one out and I looked at it, because I bought those. Regrettably, the original 2 Legion mats. They put out 2 3x3s, and I was excited because at the time we were just scrapping for anything, and they're so busy that I don't like them for Legion. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll use them for X-Wing. I don't like them for X-Wing because you can't, like, it's hard to do them. Like, X-Wing's all about like spatial awareness, and then putting like an asteroid token up so this is brown and the mat's messy. You can't see that either. So I'm like, well, cool. If I ever break down, this will be a cool blanket for me to keep warm with, I guess, in the back of my car.
Yeah, I mean, well, That's something I think we kind of pride ourselves on, is that sometimes I wonder the people who design these, not just mats, but other items, custom items for games. It's like, dude, do you even play this game? Because
it's frustrating sometimes.
That doesn't work for us at all.
To be fair, their second run, like the Hoth, the Mustafar, those are better. Those are way better.
Right, but even then you got like footprints that like if you put something on it, looks like it just ran right through it.
Yeah, right? I will give them credit that I like it, and I think it's better. But still, like it's the Hoth X-wing mat all over again, where they have Hoth in the corner, which is fine, and then you see like all the you see an AT-AT and AT-ST, but the proportions are, if you want to get into it, are way wrong, right? You shouldn't be able to see an AT-AT from space, or AT-ST from space. So that's a thing. But overall, no, I started thinking about what more could we do, and no, the water mats are actually they're cool, man.
So for others of you out there, think, well, what they're water mats, they don't mean anything to me, right? So Legion, you could have a Camino board, where if you have raised platforms and you're going to do a skirmish, or you could get two and do a 6x3.
I think a Camino skirmish board would be wicked cool. So there's a couple places that make the STLs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it because I don't want to. I just don't remember. I know I've seen them kicking around.
Yeah, they do. And, so we have a Storm one that would work really well for Camino. So, or something else, some other water planet that has lift platforms like this is, that is something that's available. So just thinking outside the box, what you could use them for.
Yeah.
You could potentially even use them for X-Wing. I know that's a little harder because X-Wing's supposed to work in this 3-dimensional space, but anyways.
At big tournaments, we've used Guild Ball mats when we ran out of space mats. So it's whatever, man. It's all good.
But yeah, so everybody out there, go check them out. If you're interested, we're pre-ordering the 3x3s right now. They should be available in August, and check out the rest of the stuff that we're selling. It's pretty cool. So now on to the podcast. So it was really interesting. Last week we had our buddy Bailey on to talk 40K. He has the Seize the Initiative podcast, all about 40K. And something, Evan and I were talking about this right before we started the podcast, and I was like, no, let's just hop on the podcast. Let's talk about it fresh so we can kind of get it out. So 40K is changing their battlefield size to a size that no one uses. I guess it's double what Warcry or War Machine
kill teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you owned a bunch of kill team boards, it's fine.
Yeah.
But, I don't. So I have one set from the original starter, but.
So for those of you not in the know or don't understand what we're talking about, 40K generally played on a 6-foot by 4-foot mat.
Yeah, they've standardized that size.
Right. So Bolt Action 6x4, Legion 6x3, but you can use a 6x4 mat, right, and use our sidebars. But there's all these other games. What was that? That other fantasy game? Shoot.
Oh, whoa. Rune Wars?
No.
Also
Kings of
War.
Kings of War, 4x6. So everyone's adopted this size now, right?
Yeah.
So 40K has changed it to a random number, which is 60 inches by 44 inches.
Yeah, I don't. So it wouldn't be so bad if only one of the sides changed, right? Because you can just sidebar your current mat. Because, man, some of those, take Frontline or Fat Mat or even our mats, they're not cheap, man. Spending $70 or $80 on the mat. And, I've got a few. Everybody's got a few. So you're already 160 to 204. You're deep, right? That's a lot of money for just a mat that you're not. Yes, it adds to the game, but it's not taking you out to dinner or right. being a part of not a mini, right? So
the weird part to me is I think I would have been almost okay if you were 60 by 48. So 48, would still be 4 foot.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've cut 6 inches off because 6 is 72. So you've cut 6 inches off of both sides. Okay, I can deal with that, right? There's ways to work around that. Here's 40K sidebars for use our sidebars, right? But now you've cut 2 inches off on either side of on the long edge too.
so weird.
It's just an odd, and I'm sure there's a reason. And it sounds like one of our Dustin from Jagged Brush, our paint studio, he was saying that the other two games that they have are on 30 by 22 or something like this. So this is like a double size. And I was just like, okay. The interesting thing about this whole thing was I got an email like a week or two ago from Frontline Games that was like, hey, we have new mat sizes, 60 by 44. And I was like, for what? Like, I was just like, okay, weirdos. Like, all right. And I'm like, you know what? It's Frontline. They're just trying to make mats of every size. I was like, cool. All right. I don't know what that's for, but great. Okay. And then we found out yesterday or the day before that that's what 40K is moving to. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's we pride ourselves on our mats. You can use them for just about anything. Like we try to make them generic enough that you can do whatever, right, man? Like our desert mat you could use for gaslands and just drive cars around on it. It looks good to me, right? Yep. It's just frustrating because it's not a quick. Like I have mats that aren't ours. Like before I bought mats for that, and how do I can still use them for other games, but I wanted to use them for 40K because that's what I'm getting into with Bailey. Like he's pulling me back in. I've got like a set of white scars I'm ready to use. I'm ready to go, man, for 9th. But like at the store, we all have these. Our store, they've got a bunch of mats for store use. They're all 4x6. So are we gonna have to? I mean, the answer is you just tape. You put tape on the mat to show, but that stinks. Like, the nice thing about the mat was when there's no more mat, there's no more battlefield. There's not like
well, and the thing that was good about Legion was even though they were slightly off, they were 6 by 3.
It was easy to fix.
You just tape 6 inches on either end of the board and you're done. Okay, so back to my earlier argument where if they did 60 by 48, you go, okay, I just taped 6 inches on either side of the long, but now you can't do that because now it's 2 inches off of the long end too, and it's like
just very frustrating. And I haven't been affected by it yet, right? Because 9th isn't out yet, and I don't have to go. And I'm sure like if a community is passionate, they'll find an answer, they'll just fix it, they'll move on, they'll get with it. But from like our outside looking in, it's just very like man, sorry guy who spent all this money on the not because Frontline is more or less the mat you buy for 40K.
Yeah,
right. They're not they're not official, but they're about as close as you're gonna get. And then to say like, oh hey, sorry for all those other mats. Here's some brand new ones. I'm just hitting everything as I'm like
he's
waving
so
my
upset.
hands
He's
around
like waving it. I mean, okay, so it probably. I mean, I don't know enough about it or about Games Workshop to like say, but I'm sure it somehow makes sense to their business model and where they're heading. Like someone had said. Because it fits on a tabletop, like a single kitchen table, you could put this mat on, right? And it's like, okay. But we've all spent years and years and years.
Yeah, you've trained us to do 4x6.
Prepping for the other one, right?
Like it's I've got we made a table, or Jay made a table that's 4 by like a little bit bigger than 4x6 for stuff, right? But it's 4x6. All the gaming tables you buy are made to be like 4x6,
right? And those are all still cool.
Yeah.
The question does come in though, like all these, like you said, stores or events that have dumped not just people, like the people are getting screwed too. But let's talk about events, right? Like all the events that have poured money into 4x6 mats and have put all this energy into that. Now those are all. Like they're not done, but you gotta now you gotta modify them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Man, nothing was worse than like trying to set up Legion mats before people got into like the 6-inch bit thing. Like so, we did sidebars, right? Just a quick fix, roll them out. But before our sidebars, saw people cut up yoga mats. People were using tape, like anything, just a easy boom, put it down, done. But taping was obnoxious.
Yeah,
because then like that mat's not only a Legion mat, so you'd have to unrip the tape. Like it was very
and. Yeah, I mean, and it was a pain in the butt, but it was easy, right? Because it was just 2 lines, 6 inches in, or a measure stick in, right? Boom, done, move on with your life. But now you got the whole mat is different.
Yeah, you gotta tape
and it's
every
going to be
side of it.
impossible to tape every side and be accurate. And so, like, do I just like if I'm a 40K player and I only play 40K and I got tons of 4x6 mats, do I just cut them?
Oh man, I guess you could.
Right?
You
Do I
could
just
cut 'em.
if that's all I play?
Don't make a mistake. Yeah.
I'm just a 40K player. I don't play any. I'm not interested ever
Yeah.
playing any other games. But I have thousands of dollars in mats.
Yeah.
What do I do now? Just cut them? Do I draw lines on them? What do I do?
You know, I was thinking about like we did sidebars for Legion, and I'm like, well, how hard would it be for sidebars for this? It's kind of just obnoxious. There's really weird sizes, right?
Yeah.
It's not like
Maybe they'll do deployment markers.
yeah, I mean that's not too bad. I mean, right, like this is a very in hindsight, it's a frivolous complaint, but it's real for people who like right, you've got all these mats, like what do you do? Right.
I don't think it's frivolous. I think it's Games Workshop being Games Workshop, and I don't think this is big enough to knock down their crowd.
No.
But this feels, and just reaction, Jay. Okay,
Yeah.
is that this feels to me? I wonder if this is going to feel to 40K players how I felt when they changed Fantasy to Age of Sigmar. Where I was just like, oh, okay, so everything I've been buying and investing in is over now.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that bad, but it's still like right. Like I remember going to like Nova like last year, and you buy fat mats, and they were expensive, but at the time they were the best. Like you know that's where you got them. And some of those were expensive, man, and they had like hidden deployment lines.
Right.
So okay, that's actually a problem. Now I'm like kind of deep diving. So you buy these mats with like hidden deployment line, like that was really cool. Like we did hidden deployment markers for ours, like for the middle 3 or middle of the map, like real easy, right?
But if you don't play Legion, you would have no idea and it wouldn't matter.
Correct. And on like for example, my buddy bought a city mat, and the hidden deployment lines were actually like trash. It was like newspaper that was lined out for where you deploy your guys, and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool idea, right? Like that's kind of where we got inspired by that.
Yeah.
But on Legion, it just changes so much. You can't really do deployment as much as just like objective marker, right?
Yeah.
But so those don't really count anymore, right? Because depending on like how they change that.
Yeah, I almost wish we had Bailey back on because like the other thing I was thinking about too was, well, my big question is we don't know yet, right? But like how much of the rules are going to change to fit that, right? Because isn't it specific to the 4x6? Like there's reasons it's 4x6 and to spread out the army. And
the reason they're doing it is the whole big thing with Ninth is all models are going up in cost, so you'll need less to bring to the table. So that's easier way to get in, and the battles what they said was the map's getting smaller, so engagements happen quicker. But it's only like 2 inches on a side, right? It's not like you're taking a foot off. It's not like 5x3 and you're saying go for it, right?
Right.
So it's again, this is the only thing so far of the Ninth I've been like upset about that they've released, because they changed some rules. Like Overwatch is a different thing now. Command points are different. They don't really want you, like you get rewarded for keeping with a certain faction. There's no, it's called like souping, where you mix different this guy can mix with this guy and this guy can mix with this guy. So that's, I like everything they've done so far. This is just the first one of their new things they've said that I've been, I guess mostly because we deal in mats a lot, and as a player it's kind of frustrating. Like it'd be like if Legion said, hey, we're not doing 3x6 anymore. Like the 3x3 it was fine, right? You just either cut your mat in half or you just buy one. Like there's solutions for that. But they're like, we're doing 2.5 by 5.5, and we think this will X and Y. It's like, what do you do? Like, if it'll say Legion 2.0 drops, and they do that, and it's like, well, okay, you know, what we're supposed to do with all these, like, who's making like mats for this?
Well, and it sounds to me like if they're making units more expensive point wise, so now all those units I've invested in that I was needed to put. It's fine for new players. It helps get new players into the game, but it kind of alienates the old players, because now you're saying, hey, remember how you spent $3,000 on all these figures so that you could have this size army? Well, you only need half of them now.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be that bad, but I understand that too. But the idea is they're trying to get more games also at, like, I think look at like Skirmish for Legion. They're trying to get that kind of game into.
Yeah.
So they have a skirmish mode, they have a normal competitive play mode, then they have a grand mode.
Right.
And I think the idea is they're trying to get more of those skirmish kind of style games. and like it helped Legion a lot.
Well, I mean, it seems like that, now from what we've seen, the big minis games, right? Like games where the 40K, Age of Sigmar, and Infinity, right?
Yep.
Are all like, to me, the reaction has been, holy crap, Legion's good and popular. We need to like up our game. And so they've been changing their formats, right?
It's competition's good for everybody, right? So, I mean, look at like the stagnant years of Warhammer, some of the bad editions where it was the only guy in town. So even if it was bad, you didn't have anywhere else to go, really. So you just kind of played it. So like, let's say, Infinity becomes really popular, but they do something that Legion could be doing, right? Like that brings people to be better, right? Like for example, I've been reading through this Skyrim, the miniature game, the competitive miniature or the cooperative competitive miniature game rule book, and I like the way they do their ready action more than I like Legion's, where it's same thing. If they end an action, you get to do something, but you don't lose it to suppression, and there's more stipulations around it. Like you have to be kind of specific about how you want to do it. And I think that's good. Like right now, like there's clones with standby is a thing, right? But before that, like standby was kind of trash, right? Like and it was like, oh, fleets, cool. I'll never get to use this because everybody shoots at range 3, and I'll never get to do anything or use my ready 1. And you only really got the standby on Death Troopers when you played Krennic's. Deploy the garrison, they got a standby. You just wanted it for the aim token anyway, right? So it was just like, So I like that. When you see more miniature games, you get to see what other things do, and but yeah, like I'm hoping the more games that come out, it pushes these developers to make the game better instead of just letting it kind of like.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird line, right? Because here we are kind of griping a little bit about 40K. I don't even play 40K. Just looking out for like, the average Joe guy who, only has so much money and time. But you're right. I think changing games is good because it stops it from being stagnant and it keeps it
moving.
Going, right?
Like I don't, now that said, I hate buying new books. I bought one Space Marine book, for the 8th edition. So wait, I bought the 8th edition rule book when this came out. Then I bought the chapter, like whatever they're like. This book is in between until the real codex comes out. Then I bought the codex, and then I bought the second Space Marine codex, and now I'll be buying a third Space Marine codex. Yeah, and I've used the other 2 books. That's on me that I didn't use them a whole lot, but I've bought 3. Gosh darn books, or it could have been an app or a car, right? Like now they're doing the app, but like that's not 3 books later. I'm like $200 in books.
Yeah, and I mean similarly, like with 8th edition fantasy, we didn't know Age of Sigmar was coming out yet.
Yeah,
and we didn't know how drastic it was going to change, even if it did, right? So the assumption would be like, they'll make some rules updates, but for the most part, this is going to be it. You know? And so, like, I had been playing fantasy for a while, but then a couple people that I knew were like, "Oh yeah, we've always wanted to play fantasy." I'm like, "Well, now's a great time. Let's play 8th edition." And so they bought books, they bought armies, I bought books to help, to like build the community. And then it was like 9th edition Age of Sigmar now. All that is crap. Goodbye to all that. And it's no longer an army-based game; it's a skirmish-based game. And it was like,
rip.
And it was hot garbage. I've heard version 2 is a lot better.
It's a lot of fun.
I don't care. I haven't cared to look into it.
I mean, all you have to do is buy some books and you're good, right?
Yeah, but now we have Warlords of Erewhon, right? Which I desperately want to get on the table. I got to get my fantasy stuff back together. But like, it's just interesting. Like when games change, I get that they have to stay relevant and stay fresh from a business perspective. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But from a gamer's perspective, it's very frustrating to stick with something because I think Legion's doing it right. Of all the stuff and all the shit talking we'll do on Legion and Fantasy Flight, here's what I think they're doing right. They're doing the rules reference and they're doing rules based on units, not based on game. So you don't have to change the game
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you just put in a new unit.
Yep.
And then you can errata
Down the road.
points or do changes later. Or what you can do is like now they haven't done this yet, but an idea is you could take like for instance they did the upgrade, the unit expansion upgrades for like stormtroopers, all the core units, right? You could do that again and just have a new card in there.
Yep.
It'd be like, oh, here's the new stormtrooper rule set. Like they have X, Y, and Z now. And if you don't want to buy the expansion, it's an errata in the living rules guide. And you just we all know that when you go play, right? When you go play competitively, we all know that's the errata.
That's actually interesting. You say that. So the Fallout Wasteland Warfare, they used to come with physical cards in the box. Now they don't, which people were upset about. I'm not, because they have them all for free on their site.
Right.
So you can download every unit card, and if they need to errata it, they just change the card and be like, you can just re-download it and print it, and you're good to go.
Yep.
So yeah, I do like having the physical card, and I'm going to be printing out cards to like, because they're easy reminders how you do stuff. But to say like, hey, so to that fact, like, hey, that Stormtrooper, you're not getting a card in the box, but the card's up on the site in a PDF. You can just download and change. If we have to change it, we just change that red dye to a purple dye or something.
Well, and they're doing, I mean, they did it once, but they're doing those card packs now too, right?
Yep.
So you could just put out a card pack. That's
this
just
is
like, hey,
update.
here's updates.
That's actually, I was really upset when X-Wing 1.0 didn't, so for the damage decks, the 1.0 damage deck was fine, but then more stuff came out, and some of the critical cards you take would be like, lose your secondary weapon. I don't have a secondary weapon, so it's a free crit. Or there's some things in that, like pilot, one of the pilot abilities was like wicked bad. But that aside, people would take a different deck depending on what favored their army, and that's not really what they intended. But they originally said you have to use the new deck when they put out things. Then they backed down and said no, you can use either one. And I was actually really mad about that. I'm like, no, just make the deck like $5 or something, or $10, and make people buy it. So what they did, anytime you went to an open, they'd give you a new deck with an alt back, hoping you would use it. I did. Right. I just always use the new deck, but that was very like that was the first change they tried, right? And actually, that's why I always thought they released Kylo Ren as a crew card, because you could look through your damage deck and pick out a pilot card that you'd have to take. And the one in the old deck was wicked, way bad. It was like you're 0 and you don't have a pilot ability, whereas the new ones weren't as bad. Anyway, so I remember that, and I was like really mad they backed down on that, and then they just like flying elbow off the top said, 2.0. You can throw out all that 1.0 stuff. Now you have to play this. And there was a big like drop off when that change happened. People were like, I'm never playing this game.
That's how we got Legion players.
Yeah, like
right?
Well, so that's the thing is they fixed the game, because man, at that Gen Con, if they didn't announce X-Wing 2.0 or a fix, I was out.
Right. You were talking about Blood Red Skies at that point, right?
The game was so broken at that point, where it was the same two lists. I didn't even need to read your list. Like I would see your ships and I'd be like, okay, I know exactly what you're gonna do. And it became like a thing where dice didn't matter for some ships. Like, oh yeah, I just do 3 hits.
Right.
Like, or yeah, you're gonna take 4 in a crit. Like it was so bad. And then that's why I was always wondering why people didn't want to change, because I'm like, dude, this is miserable. And now X-Wing is like it's a lot more fun, though. The same people who are buying X-Wing are also buying Legion in our community, and we just started playing Legion more, just because it's new, right? It's a new thing. But that saved X-Wing, and I always thought it was funny when people complained about having to buy an upgrade pack for X-Wing, like, $50. This is they're just doing it for money. I'm like, have you played any GW game where they're like, new book, $50 for the core book? Like that's just for that book that tells you how to play. That's not even for your army book or the additional books that go up to supplement your army. Like I always was like, I wasn't super vocal about it, but I was just like, dude, you don't even know how good you have it. After 3 years, you get one update. And anyway, so that was good. It's like, that's a positive change. I know like Infinity, a lot of people are upset because the new edition came out or is out soon. I know the 2-player starter is out, and then the new edition launched shortly, but there's only 4 factions they've got rules for the new set. But there's like, a ton of factions, and they're going to eventually slowly re-release them. So a lot of people are a little upset about that. And I get it, because, hey, I only play this one army. My army's not in the new edition. I guess I just have to wait, kind of thing.
Right.
That stinks, but we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. Games are interesting, right? Like, and I get you got to make changes and you got to make updates, but I think...
Well, I like Magic.
Yeah,
Like Magic just does whatever it wants,
right,
and people keep playing, right?
But, I mean, Games Workshop's gonna be the same way, right?
Yeah, let's do whatever. I mean, to be fair, their games now are good. Like overall, like the last CEO I didn't like. It felt like you're buying models and the game kind of was secondary. This is like, man, you've got Underworlds, Warcry, Kill Team, the actual 40K AOS. The board games that come out of AOS are great. Silver Tower is fantastic. You get a hero and you play through a campaign. It has an app that like saves your progress, and there's like, oh, you're going over a bridge that's desiccated, one of the cards, and then you have to bounce dice to like stack them upside to make sure you can bounce across a bridge. That was really fun. And like, man, they're on the right track. I'd like to keep seeing them go like that because I'd like to be excited, for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of players out there, and I think a lot of us play multiple games, and I think just trying to build that and bring in new players is a good idea, and it's a good time for games, I think.
I was always jealous of when I worked at GameStop forever, the guys who'd only come in and buy Madden and Call of Duty, and then when the new ones came out, they'd trade in the old ones and buy the new. That was the only 2 games they bought the year. The only one time I saw them a year was to trade in and buy the new stuff, and I was always jealous of that. Like that's all they needed. They're like, that's the only 2 I play. And I've played everything. I've had a wall of PS2 games and all the stuff. And like my miniature, my backlog to build and paint is just getting out of control, and all the rules I'm like trying to read. But I love it. Like I do it because I like it. But also I wish I could just be like, I just play, this small miniature game.
Well,
Maybe I heard of it.
Right. I mean, that was the whole change to the podcast, right? Was that like we tried for a year and a half to just focus on Legion, but then it was just, I love Legion still, and I'm still going to play, but, interests vary. And so we were like, oh, what's that shiny thing over there? Like the raccoon that you are.
Get my paws on it. My mitts. But
So, okay. So that's that. Now, Evan, I'd like to tell me about a game that you've never told us about before, a new game. Maybe.
Okay. All right.
Or something that you've played that's excited you.
All right. So, actually, I picked up 2 new games over the weekend.
Okay.
Go on. One's called Top Gun, and it's based on the Top Gun movie franchise. And I originally saw it on the shelf because it had the radical colors and the 80s style that I brand myself with mostly. So I saw that and I'm like, well, I'll take a look at this. We quote Top Gun every time we play X-Wing. So it ends up being really good. There's 2 games in it, and you play one, then you go back to the other, and you go back and forth until you hit a number of points you need to win. One of them's a volleyball game, and so you each get a deck of cards. There's whiffs and hits, and so you put the cards down, and there's a little net, and then you're sending the ball back and forth, trying to get combos of cards. And depending on how good you do on that, gives you bonuses for the dogfight mode. And you move over there, and you're trying to get a target lock on the other guy, like in the movie, right? So you start at different positions, and the game is actually. It's 2 to 4. They try to sell the dogfight mode. It's like it's fun to play with 2 people on each side. It's not. Just do 2 people. Like it just doesn't make sense. But like there's supposed to be like one guy's like the guy flying, the other guy's a weapons engineer, right? The weapons gunner. But like you just play a card. You're not like manning a console while someone else is like doing something. I guess one guy can play volleyball anyway. But it's really good. It's pretty fast. I love the art style. If you have a chance to check it out, Top Gun it's over 45 minutes, half an hour.
Okay.
And it's mostly because some of that setup and takedown was because we just didn't have a big enough play space where we could keep both the games up in one spot, so we'd have to pull one down, move it over, pull the other one out. But one was just a board you slap down with some tiles, and the other's like the game. So that's super cool. But the game I'm really in love with right now is from Plaid Hat Games. They did that zombie game that I love to hate and I hate to love. Deadly Winter? No.
Dead of Winter.
That's it. Dead of Winter.
I wasn't sure where you're going there.
Yeah, no. So I
think we just talked about this.
I play it, and I don't know. I have a lot of emotions about it, but I can't ever tell you if they're positive or negative. I know every time it comes out, I'm just like full of like anxiety, maybe. Dead of Winter is a crossroads game where somebody does like on someone's turn, someone pulls up a card, and if they do a certain action, you read the card and something happens. That's the crossroads system. Different choices mostly. So they did that. They did a game called Seafall, which was a legacy crossroads game. I didn't really like that one, but this one is called Forgotten Waters. Holy smokes, it's super cool. So You make a pirate. You pull out a page out of this pirate page and you write on it, and you write it's a little legacy, but not really. And so first thing you do is you make a Mad Lib about your character's backstory, which is super fun. And then you summons the ship cartographer, so they name the ship, and certain events happen on the ship that they keep track of, and everyone gets certain boards to keep track of, little how many crew you have, how many supplies you have.
Yeah.
You put the game board in the middle, put your pieces down. You put out this adventure book, and then you either use a computer or an app. And as you move, it'll tell you put in 001, and then you get a narrated scenario. It's actually the guy who did Vegeta's voice acting. I don't remember his name, but
from
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, Vegeta from.
But so when he
Dragon
gets
Ball
mad,
Z.
you can kind of hear it just a little bit.
Yeah.
But so it reads out this thing to you.
Kakarot!
Dude, it's so good when he. So he reads out the scenario to you, and then you play through it, or this thing happens to you. Choose this, do this. Here's the scenario. What do you do? And how you're supposed to play the game is you get 40 seconds. It plays you can play it alone maybe if you want, but it's recommended for 3 to 7 people.
Okay.
And so you put the board down, and you have a bunch of actions you're going to take on your turn. Now, right to the right of those actions is what they actually do. You have 40 seconds to pick an action. And so what it recommends doing is don't read what they do. Just use the colors and then the icons to assume that's what you want to do.
Right.
And that's it creates a little bit more fun when you're not metagaming it. You're just I want to talk to the captain, right?
Yeah.
You put the guy down. So everyone throws their guy down, then you go from top to bottom to figure out what happens. But there's 5 scenarios that come in it. And the first one was I think it has a save point too. So when you get to a certain spot in the game and the scenario goes, hey, here's a good stopping point. If you got something else to do, write down where you're at.
Yeah.
And then you can come back later and finish it.
Yeah, that's good.
It's super cool. So we played through the first one, took 4 hours. And then we did the second one. That was another 4 hours. And if you play through it again, the beginning and the end are the same, but the journey's different because there's different random tiles you're going to pull.
Oh, yeah.
So each time you play, it's different, even though it's the same ending. And then as you're playing, you're trying to level up your pirate to get your bad, good, or legendary ending. So it's cooperative. You're all working together, but you're also trying to get your ending. It really blew me away.
That's awesome.
Super good. I've been talking to their team, and we might have one of their devs on to talk to us about the game, and just because it's super Forgotten Waters. It's super interesting. I bought it kind of on a whim. I remember seeing it marketed on Miniatures Market, and I'm like, pirate Crossroads games. All right, pirates are kind of in our thing right now with Oak and Iron, Sea of Thieves, and everything. I'll give that a shot. And then I picked it up, and we played some Top Gun. We're like, hee, this is funny. And then my buddy's roommate came in and came back from work, and he's like, can we all play a game? I'm like, yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll find something. So I'm like, I just got Forgotten Waters. And I was reading the rule book's pretty breezy. It's 4 or 5 pages. It tells you what, if certain scenarios happen, because most of the time you just do what the app says. And so you move your boat, and then we're on 35. Oh crap, it's a storm. And you flip to the page in the adventure book, and you get a nice full art thing. And we're fighting a megalodon at one point, and that was super cool. Or a Kraken, and then they play a little music or action behind it when you're doing stuff. It's really what they can pack into the $60 product. I'm honest, other game developers should be ashamed.
That's awesome.
For the amount of stuff they could. Shame may be harsh, but,
right?
For the amount of replayability and cool. I was playing with one guy loves board games, one guy kind of loves them. And Pandemic Legacy, we all burned through that, and that was our favorite. Legacy Season 1. Season 2 kind of stunk. Season 1, fantastic.
Okay.
But we're I'm up there, I'm maybe this tops that out of most fun I've just had out of a box. There wasn't a ton of learning, so teaching it's real easy. That's actually a big thing to me. If you can get into it and have fun. Yeah, you could probably burn through it and get through all scenarios and be like, I'm good. I don't want to play this again. But you're going to get there's 5 scenarios, about 20 hours, maybe 16 to 20
that's
hours
awesome.
out of a board game.
Yeah.
And honestly, with how things are, I'm lucky if I get to play any of my board games more than 3 times. If they're not Splendor or something quick, if they're a big one, because then you got to teach everybody all the rules.
Right, and then if it's gone a long time, you forgot how to play this.
Then I don't want to learn it again.
I gotta learn this again.
Just do Splendor again, right? So that's that one actually. I got to reach out to them again because they said they'd be interested to come on. Cool. And get him on because I'd love to pick his brain about that game.
Yeah.
Because it was really it shocked me how much I liked it. Because I went in with no reviews, no anything. I just saw the box art. like, pirates, and it's crossroads. Blah, blah, blah. And then the guy at the shop was like, yo, I've played through the first scenario like 3 times, different people. Like, he just started going, he's like, the Mad Libs is funny. But no, that's very excellent.
Awesome.
But yeah, that and Top Gun, it was nice too, because I think that's like $20, $25. So it's not, it's a fun 2-player game, and it's not like real expensive. So it's you can usually catch it on a sale, but it's not too bad to give it a shot, especially with the Top Gun movie coming out in December, ?
Right. So along that lines, movies coming out at some point.
Yeah.
So the new Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. Yep.
So my recommendation is the Ghostbusters game, the miniature
game. Yeah, that came out a while ago.
So I got it. That was by
Is that about
Cryptozoic.
Cool? Oh, okay. Yep.
Entertainment.
Yep.
So the reason you're thinking it's like Cool Mini is it's very similar to Zombicide and Massive Darkness. It's a dungeon crawl tile game.
Yeah.
Where you build out the board with these tiles, and then you have the Ghostbusters go through, and you have to defeat the ghosts with,
Sure.
and then there's all these scenarios in it. If you're into Ghostbusters, which most people are, and you're into miniature games and you want to check it out, yeah, it's really cool. It was a Kickstarter a few years ago. I believe they've made a second one, but the first one with the minis is amazing, and it's a really fun game and easy to get people into, and one of those games that like you could get a lot more people to play it, similar to Star Wars, like with Legion. It's because it's Ghostbusters.
The IP
Right.
sells it.
Yeah.
So speaking of the game, you mentioned it a while ago. That miniature game, the fancy one that we're going to get into, Legends, the Aragon,
Warlords of Erewhon.
Warlords of Erewhon. So I was looking for miniatures, right? I've got some.
Go on.
But so Fantasy Flight has a fantasy miniature game that kind of didn't work out, but the miniatures are super cheap and they work real great. So I can get a thing of Mounted Knights for like $15.
Oh, snap.
For Rune Wars, yeah. So they $15, or all the elves, the undead. A core box used to be $127. I might even have some somewhere. Just
awesome.
Like, so I'm just got like all these undead and like pikemen I'm ready to use.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time, but yeah, I mean that's why. So we're getting there. We're starting actually this Friday. We're gonna be live streaming different games. So
we'll have the stream up all day, and we'll see games kind of come on and come off.
Yeah, and I don't know if Warlords of Erewhon will be one, but eventually we'll get to it. But yeah, I'm really excited because anything that allows me to take things I've already bought and play their game with it, I'm in.
That's why I really like Offspring games, because Frostgrave is just anything you own. You could use like nickels and dimes if you really wanted to and play it, or like Gaslands. Yeah, like Hot Wheels cars are like a couple dollars. Even for the generic ones, like they're like make a game out of it.
We gotta play that game. You gotta show me how to play.
Gaslands, it's super cool.
Cool. Yeah, and let's see what else. I think that's it for today, right? What do you got? We got. I'm really excited about this. So we got some Conflict 47 stuff coming in that goes along with that Band of Brothers core set.
Nice.
And so we're going to put those together and we'll get the game of that. And then we got Blood and Plunder that we got to get in a game.
Yep.
And so hopefully what I'd like to start doing is we'll start playing these new games and then come and talk about them. And then we'll start having creators on again and interviewing people. So we got a list that we're reaching out to and trying to line up now. And hopefully we'll have some more creators and introduce you guys to some more games. And other than that, just keep listening to the podcast and check out our YouTube channel for updates.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
Everyone, stay rad.
Join us next week for another edition of the Fifth Trooper podcast.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.